Okay, we're ready.
Excuse me, can I be heard?
Who's speaking?
Are you able to hear me? This is Mary Douglas.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, we can
goodness.
hear you, ma'am.
Well, I messed it up last time. I'm just trying to get in this time.
You did good.
Well, welcome to our meeting tonight, Mary.
I'm present. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, Mr. Acosta will not be, Mr. Acosta, unfortunately, is unable to join us tonight, so I will be helping out, but I just wanted to thank everyone on the line and our very helpful clerk, Madam Clerk. If you can just read the announcement, that would be great.
Okay. Should we start with the roll call, Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Can we start with the roll call?
Yes. So, members Borja?
Present.
Okay. Costa? Duncan?
Present.
Johnson?
Here.
Miller? Here. Thompson?
Here.
There you go. And Trotter Getz?
Present.
Okay. Thank you. You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would you be kind enough to read the announcement? Sorry.
Absolutely. In compliance with the directives of the County, State, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, this meeting is live streamed and closed to the public. Temporary procedures are subject to change pursuant to guidelines related to social distancing and minimizing person-to-person contact. To make a verbal comment at today's meeting, dial 916-875-2500 and follow the prompts to be placed in the queue for a specific agenda item or an off-agenda matter. When I open public comment for a specific agenda item or an off-agenda matter, you will be transferred from the queue into the meeting to make a verbal comment. Written comments are always accepted. Please send your email comments to the board clerk at saccounty.net. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. And that concludes
Awesome.
your
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the announcement. If you could all please, we have done the roll call. Now, if you could just all join me into the pledge, wherever you are, you could please join me. Madam Clerk, do you want to lead the pledge?
Oh, gracious, I'd be honored to. Okay.
Thank you so much.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the
United
United
States of America.
and to the republic for which we stand,
For which we stand,
One
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
and justice for
and
all.
justice for all.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Now, moving on to our agenda. For those who are following, we are actually on page 2. So we called the meeting to order. We proceeded with a roll call, and we all respected the pledge. And so can we do introductions? Madam Clerk, is that the next step? Or have we done introductions already?
Future for
I think-
we just asked
I
if they
think we've
would.
done introductions.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure. So we have the CPAC members, but who do we have for the County of Sacramento staff joining us this evening?
Hi, this is Emma Patton. I'll be presenting items 1 and 2 today.
Thank you.
Good evening. This is Joelle Inman, Senior Planner.
Thank you, Joelle.
And good evening. This is Chris Bahuli, Principal Planner.
Thank you, Chris. And our Miss Clerk is Renee. Is that correct, Renee?
That's correct.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So we've made our CPAC announcements, and can we just go on for the first item in our agenda?
We will. Your first item, number 1, is your Wild Hawk 9. It's located at 9942 Gerber Road in the Vineyard community. It's a request for a rezone, community plan amendment, comprehensive plan amendment, tentative subdivision map, special development permit, design review, and affordable housing strategy.
All right. Awesome. Do we have our lead planner from the county to present?
Yes, absolutely. So again, my name is Emma Patton. I'll be presenting the Wild Hawk 9 project to start off. Please advance the slide.
Okay.
This is actually a project that you have seen before. The CPAC voted on this project previously and voted 5 yes, 0 no to recommend approval. Since then, the request has been modified, and so we wanted to bring the project back to you for your consideration. Here is an exhibit which shows the project location. This is a project which is a part of a larger subdivision project known as Wild Hawk North. Next slide, please. There might be a slight delay. There we go. So the project involves a rezone request, a community plan amendment, a comprehensive plan amendment, tentative subdivision map, a special development permit, design review, and an affordable housing strategy. I'll go into a little bit more detail on each of those requests. These entitlements are very similar to what was proposed with the previous project, which was before the CPAC, I think it was back in January. But some modifications were proposed so as to not require a boundary line adjustment, which would create some challenges with the finaling of the map and the conditioning of the project. So as to avoid that boundary line adjustment, the project has been modified. Next slide. Thank you. So the applicant continues to propose a rezone. The previous project included a rezone from AR10 to RD7. Now being proposed is a rezone from AR10 to RD20. The RD10 lot sizes are more suitable with the current boundary line location. Next slide, please. The applicant is continuing to propose a community plan amendment and comprehensive plan amendment. However, the request has been updated to reflect the new proposed RD10 zoning. Next slide. Here's the tentative map. The tentative map has been revised to reflect the change in zoning. The circulation is generally consistent with what was previously being proposed. You can see the Gerber Creek corridor traveling through the project site with a park site at the southerly portion of the map. Next slide, please. The applicant has provided staff with a lot fit analysis exhibit, as you can see here, which shows how proposed residences will fit on the site and potential building elevations will work on those particular sites. I will note that these exhibits are meant to demonstrate lot fit and potential elevations. And as the project progresses, building elevations and floor plans will need to be further developed. And those plans will need to be reviewed and approved by our design review administrator prior to building permit issuance. And so we are expecting these elevations to change. These are likely not the elevations which will be constructed. The revised project adds a special development permit to allow for a reduced quarter lot of 3,700 square feet, where a 4,000 square foot lot would otherwise be required, and to allow the corner lot side yard setback to be reduced to 10 feet, where a 25-foot setback would otherwise be required. And again, this is a special development permit that is added to allow for the RD10 lot sizes to work on this particular property without requiring a boundary line adjustment. Next slide, please. Here you can see a side-by-side comparison of what was previously proposed and what the CPAC took action on, and what is now being proposed. There is a 10 lot difference, so 10 additional lots are being proposed with the current tentative map. Next slide, please. Thank you. Lastly, this exhibit shows a composite map of the Wild Hawk North subdivision. It is useful to understand that this project in its context with other projects. So the Wild Hawk 9 project sits in between the approved Wild Hawk Northeast project and the Willman project, and then the Gerber Creek corridor runs through the site. So that concludes my comments on the project. I know I went through some of those exhibits rather quickly, so if you need to return to one of those exhibits, certainly we can. And the applicant is also on the line for any questions.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. The applicant, would you like to introduce yourself for the record?
I'm representing the property owner and applicant, here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Are there any, before we go to the questions, are there any other details that you may want to add before proceeding to our questions, sir?
Thank you. I think the only thing to point out is the proposed lots and this composite color basically proposes the same lot sizes in the to the southwest, and the portion of the Wild Hawk Northwest project to the north, light brown coloring you see there on the adjacent property. So I think this is a good exhibit that shows how one of the last pieces of the puzzle in a larger development scheme. Why we're proposing what we're proposing.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Now I'm going to turn it to the CPAC board. Are there any questions from our CPAC members? Okay. I do have one quick question for both the planner and the applicant. I do notice that there would be more lots to for the change. Would that 10 more lots impact any of the traffic study and or the vehicle movement for the thoroughfare or the throughputs in there? Does that impact at all? I would imagine no, but I'm curious.
Yeah, thank you for your question. I can answer that. So the revised trip generation studies were prepared for the lot change or the change in the tentative map here, and it was not a significant enough change to trigger any sort of additional traffic studies or additional mitigation for roadway widths, etc.
Understood. Thank you so much. And then could you please share with us a little bit about the affordable housing strategy? What does that entail? Does that mean, Section 8 or rental property or just properties below market value? Could you just give us a brief share about that?
Sure, absolutely. So there's a few projects within this area that had previously approved affordable housing strategies. So the Wild Hawk Northeast map to the north and east of this particular Wild Hawk Unit 9 proposed map, along with the Willman map, which is just to the southwest of the proposed map, they both had affordable housing strategies that required the construction of new affordable units. The Board of Supervisors adopted a updated affordable housing ordinance, which allows developers to, instead of complying with previous affordable housing strategies, it gives them the option to pay fees in lieu of constructing units. And this allows our Sacramento Housing Redevelopment Agency to be able to assist with funding for affordable housing projects. And so with this particular, tentative subdivision map, they are anticipating paying fees in lieu to meet their affordable housing requirement. And then a future, multifamily project may be proposed within this Vineyard community, but no affordable housing units are proposed on this site.
Okay, understood.
This is Sophia. Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am. Sorry,
Okay.
who is it? Just so we can have the record, if you could just share your name so we can have it for the record. Sorry.
Sophia Trotter-Getzy.
Thank you, Sophia.
Okay, so I have several questions, but I wasn't being heard earlier. I don't know what I had wrong with my computer. Okay, so if I heard you correctly earlier, I seem to remember Wild Hawk 9 came before us, and then did the planner say we rejected it?
No, not exactly. I can go over a little bit of that history. So we did take the project to the CPAC previously, and the CPAC did vote to recommend approval with a 5-0 vote. Subsequent to that, planning staff was working with our applicant team in trying to resolve some timing triggers for conditions of approval. So the project was being conditioned to have a number of improvements and building permit requirements, etc., which were reliant on a future boundary line adjustment to occur. And there was some conflicts related to when the boundary line adjustment occurred, how it worked with adjacent maps, and concerns that it could potentially invalidate an adjacent map. And so because of those concerns, we asked the applicant to look into revising their map and finding alternatives which wouldn't require that boundary line adjustment, which would allow for a smoother process in both conditioning the project and also allowing the applicant to final the map. Does that answer your question?
Yes, so you said we voted to approve it.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, and so why the difference between RD7, which we did approve, and what's being requested now, which is RD10?
So I will let Bruce kind of take this over because he is much more intimately, aware of the particulars of the lotting. But generally speaking, the existing boundary line, it works better with an RD10 lot size than an RD7 lot size. Bruce, did you have anything to add to that?
Sure. Bruce Walters, representing the applicant. To the lotting size of the approved project Wilman to the southwest, and that involved 40 by 8 set up. The Wild Hawk 9 project was intended to pattern. In looking at some larger lots, RD7, 50 wide by 80 foot, it would be below the RD7 threshold, so we could zone it RD7. Described it triggered a boundary line adjustment problem between the two projects, and so it was really intended to develop concurrent with Wilman with the same, and that eliminated the boundary line adjustment, but it also put it a little over density for that zone. So I think we're at 8.0 units per acre. Just to fit the zoning, but it's really the 40 by 80 lots, the adjacent project. Hope that helps.
Yeah, this is Emma again. I think Bruce was cutting in and out a little bit there, but generally, I think the sentiment that he was sharing is that with the lot sizes that would be required of the RD7 product type, the boundary line where it runs adjacent to Wilman would need to be adjusted. It would need to be changed to allow for that alternative lot size. the RD10 lots, as Bruce was suggesting, it doesn't necessarily increase density significantly from the previously proposed RD7, but it does match what was proposed or what is proposed for the Wild Hawk Northeast project to the north, as you can see there, and as Bruce sort of demonstrated earlier with the sort of color coding of this composite map, and then also the Willman project. And so, given density, will match what is shown there.
I don't see a key on this composite map. What do these colors represent?
So the colors, they signify different densities. So
Okay.
what you see there in the sort of tannish color would be the RD10 designation. And then Bruce, can you maybe speak to the other densities designations?
The cutting out. The gold color is the 45. The darker yellow immediately to the north is the 50 wides, and then to the south, which south of the creek, which are a mix of 55s and 60s.
And now, can you hear me? This is Sophia.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And what is the overlaying map here that we're falling under and that we're trying to modify for this?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand your question. Can you maybe rephrase?
Do we have, I mean, this isn't the general plan, obviously. So is this a neighborhood map that we're falling under? What's this composite map showing us? I see that it's Wild Hawk.
Yeah, this is known as sort of Wild Hawk North, and it's a series of a number of tentatively approved subdivision maps within the Wild Hawk North subdivision area. So what you see here is, so Wild Hawk Northeast, Willman are the two maps that are adjacent to the Wild Hawk Unit 9 map, and both of those are maps that have been gone through the tentative subdivision map approval process, and so those are tentatively approved maps. And now this map, Wild Hawk Unit 9, is being proposed as a tentative map, a new tentative map to kind of fill in this space in between the two map areas.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Do we have any more questions from the members of the CPAC?
I have a short question, please. This is Mary Duncan.
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Okay. With the additional housing that is being proposed, does that have a negative or a neutral impact on the school system?
Sure. So the Elk Grove Unified School District did provide us a letter. I know that they are pretty impacted, and so they do have impact fees. And with the development of this property, they will need to pay those impact fees. I think it's, as of April 2020, it went up to $694. I think it's $694. Don't quote me on that, but per square foot of new development. And so as these homes are obtaining their building permits, they will need to pay those impact fees to the school district.
Moving forward, do they anticipate at least an additional elementary school?
I am not sure what the school district has planned or what school sites have been identified.
Okay. No, because if this is part of a process that's going to continue with family homes, it seems evident that there would be children.
Yes, certainly.
Okay, that's all. So it's a thought that they're considering.
Yes, and the impact fees will, like I said, go to the school district for them to be able to either identify school sites, construct school sites, etc. It'll be for their
Right.
use.
No, I understand the impact. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Any more questions from the CPAC? Otherwise, we will bring it into discussion and then for the vote. Actually, before the discussion, do we have any members of the public or any public comment that the clerk may have received about this project submission?
Not for this item, Sir Chair.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak? Hearing none, we will bring it back to the CPAC discussion. Are there any comments or additional questions for CPAC?
I'm good.
Okay, all right. Then, Madam Clerk, I think there was a, actually, I would need to have a motion in order for us to move the item. Is there a motion?
Was there a motion?
This is Sophia Trotter-Getzy. I'd like to make a motion that we approve this request.
Okay, thank you, Sophia.
This is
and I'll second it.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you so much for the second. Any other final discussion before we go for a vote? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Absolutely. Members Borja,
Aye.
Costa, Duncan,
Yes.
Johnson, Miller,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
and Getzy.
Aye.
Thank you. Your motion passes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the planner and the presentation. We appreciate you coming out tonight. Okay, awesome. So now we are moving to the second part of the agenda. Madam Clerk, can you read item number 2?
Yes, your item number 2 is your Castleman Northwest Tentative Subdivision Map, located at 33,500 feet west of the intersection of Castleman Road and Elk Grove Road in the Vineyard community. It's a request for a tentative subdivision map, general plan amendment, community plan amendment, rezone, design review and exception to Title 22.
Thank you. Do we have staff from the county ready to present?
Yes, Emma Patton here again.
Thank you, Emma. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'll wait for the slides to be available as visuals. Well, perfect. So slide 2, please. So as Renee explained, this project is located 3,500 feet west of the intersection of Castleman Road and Elk Grove Florin Road in the Vineyard community. The project will require the extension of Castleman Road and will be located on the north side of Castleman Road. There you can see the property in the vicinity map. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this request includes a general plan amendment to update the designation to low density residential. Currently has an ag residential designation. Next slide, please. Thank you. The request also includes a community plan amendment and a rezone to allow for RD5 development consistent with what is being proposed on the tentative map. So here you can see the rezone exhibit from A10 to RD5. Next slide. And here's the community plan amendment, which provides a designation consistent with the RD5 zoning. Next slide, please. Here is the tentative subdivision map, which proposes to divide the 17.9-acre property into 66 RD5 lots. It includes one detention basin lot and then one channel lot. The map also includes a request for an exception to Title 22 as it relates to having 2 points of access to provide residents with more than one access into and out of the subdivision. The channel lot runs east-west and is located on the northerly portion of the map. The basin is located on the westernmost portion, and it proposes a walking path adjacent to it, with the possibility to continue to the south upon the development of those properties. Castleman South is proposed to Castleman, the road Castleman is proposed to continue west consistent with the current street section design. However, for this project, homes are proposed to front Castleman, which will allow for further activation of the street and more eyes on the neighborhood. Next slide, please. And I'll end my presentation here just with a composite map exhibit, just because I think it's a good sort of reference to understand what's going on with the remainder of the community. The project is located to the west of the approved and constructed Castleman Ranch and the approved Castleman South tentative map to the south of Castleman Ranch. There is one parcel in between the proposed Castleman Southwest and Castleman Ranch project. The proposed tentative map will allow for the sort of intuitive expansion of the subdivision if that property owner wished to develop consistent with surrounding properties in the future. While this map exhibit is great at showing sort of what the context of the surrounding areas are, please reference the tentative subdivision map included in this presentation to see what is actually proposed on the Castleman Northwest site, as this may not be accurate. So with that, that concludes my comments. And again, Bruce Walters, applicant, is available for any questions.
Miller,
Okay, thank you.
I have a question if I can. So,
Yes, please, go ahead.
So how many more cars are going to wind up on Elk Grove Florin Road? I think the county is doing a widening project, if I remember correctly, but I'm just wondering because that's a lot of houses and Elk Grove Florin Road is already a mess. So was there a study done?
Yes, so there was a study prepared for this particular project. They completed a trip generation consistent with how we handle all of our projects in the county. This particular project wasn't triggering any sort of additional traffic improvements than that which had already been planned for the area, and so the plan, what has already been approved in the plan, will work for this particular site, according to staff's analysis.
So the county is widening Elk Grove Florin Road, I believe, and South Watt. So is that project? How do I say this? Is that project for the road widening part of the reason why all these houses can be built within the report that has already been done? Am I making sense?
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. The way that we sort of review do the trip generation study is we review what is being proposed with the project and determine how many additional trips will be planned for that area, and then we review how that may impact both the current streets and planned streets within the community. You are correct in saying that there are plans for the widening of Elk Grove Florin Road. Elk Grove Florin Road is designated as a 6-lane thoroughfare in the general plan. And so there is a widening project for the segments from Fruit Ridge to Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Bill Thompson. I got a question, please.
Mr. Thompson, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Is Castleman going to be widened just to 2 lanes clear to Florin Elk Grove Road, or are they just going to widen it in front of their place, in front of the houses that they're building?
So they'll be required to complete the improvements consistent with the community plan, the comprehensive plan in the area. They are proposing an 18-foot section of roadway for the half right-of-way of Castleman, and that will include a 13-foot pedestrian easement. That'll have a 7-foot wide landscape area and a 6-foot wide walk, and will be in front of their particular project site.
Mm-hmm. But does that go clear through to Florin Elk Grove, or does it just stop where your houses stop?
The Castleman Road currently reaches the street. It'll dead end at this particular property.
Yeah, but Castleman is real narrow right now. It's barely wide enough for a truck to pass on it. And if somebody has a party or something like that where it's pre-existing, there is not room for a fire truck or something like that to get through.
Right. So the fire department has reviewed these plans to be, consistent with their requirements for access, and so they will also be providing conditions for this project to make sure that the proposed improvements will meet their requirements in order to access these homes for fire safety reasons.
You still haven't answered my question. Does this widening go clear through to Florin Road?
The widening of what, sir?
Castleman. Does it go clear through to Florin Road?
So there isn't necessarily a widening of Castleman. There's an extension of Castleman. So Castleman will be extended to reach this particular project site.
Because Castleman is about as wide as Rogers is, and it's too damn narrow.
This is Sophia Trotter Betsy. I thought they widened Castleman when they did Castleman Ranch. Is that not the case?
I am not familiar with the improvements that, the prior condition of Castleman Road and its existing condition, but what I can say, and maybe Bruce, you might be able to better respond to that. What I can say is that the Castleman Road is going to be extended consistent with what was installed with the Castleman Ranch project to the east of the proposed project. So it'll be two lanes, 18 feet each.
And has Castleman?
The applicant, Emma's correct.
Sorry, I think we may have heard the applicant, Mr. Walters. Were you trying to make a comment?
Yes, just adding to what Emma said, the Castleman Ranch project has improved a collector road status. It doesn't have any lots fronting onto it. It doesn't have any on-street parking. It The Castleman Road, that same section will be extended across the Barbero and then extended across the south end of this project. So it'll be basically the same section extended.
Yes, sir, I realize that, but I mean, I'm talking about, you say you got houses fronting Castleman. Those people there are going to have friends and they're going to have parties. Where are the people going to park?
Castleman Ranch project has no front on, there's no on-street parking. This project will have parking, but it's at the end of the string, if you will, and provides sufficient to Elk Grove Florin Road.
In other words, you're providing off-site parking of these houses?
I think we might be losing you, Bruce. Bruce, if you're able to call in as well, that would be helpful. I'm not sure if you're on via your computer, but maybe trying to call in would be helpful because we're having trouble hearing you, Bruce. All of the front-on properties will include garages and driveways as well, where folks will also be able to park.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is Sophia Trotter-Getzy. Question, is Castleman South already built?
No, Castleman South is not built, while Castleman Ranch is constructed.
Okay. And so when they, well, you might not know the answer to this. I couldn't remember when they did Castleman Ranch, did they only improve then that side of Castleman as far as the street, or did they widen it on the side that on the south also? You might not know that.
Yeah, so I believe that it's my understanding that the street section is consistent with what with the right of way requirement. However, the curb, gutter sidewalk portion remains unimproved on the southerly side and would be the responsibility of the Castleman South project to construct.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's probably one of the things that contributes to it looking like it's not as wide.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
This is Joko Borja. I would like to ask a question about the request of the applicant and also from the planner. The exception to Title 22 requirement about not having 2 points of access into and out of the area. I think we've heard from members of the CPAC about potential traffic and blockages. Castleman's going to be the only main arterial out of this, and then they have the train tracks. How we, as far as like emergency planning is involved, wildfires, things like that, has that been put into consideration? Because that's kind of one of the reasons why the Title 22 requirement was put into place, so that emergency vehicles are able to access in and out without, having a bottleneck on the design.
Yeah, that's correct. So for those who aren't familiar with that particular section, there's a requirement in our county code which requires that new subdivisions have 2 points of access in order to allow for folks to easily enter and exit the particular property for health and safety concerns. For this particular project, we did sit down with both the Metro Fire District for their review of the project, and also with our county engineering team to discuss the project and understand consistency with that particular code section. The fire department, like I said, is going to be conditioning this project and providing conditions in order to make sure that they have adequate access onto the site. In terms of the access points, we are expecting some, future development of this particular site, and so there may in the future be additional access from another subdivision. Everything out here is sort of developing, similar to the previous project. In fact, a lot of the projects out here are developing in sort of this piecemeal fashion where one project is proposed and tentatively approved and constructed and somewhat reliant on other projects to be constructed in order to allow for the projects to work effectively. And so it may be the case that a future project would be able to provide that second point of access for this particular project. Bruce, do you have any additional comments on that?
Well, I'm trying to call in, but I think you covered it well. Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think I would just, just strongly advise the staff, and when you're talking to the fire department, also kind of review some of the current changes on the emergency planning guidance by the state about access points. I think Paradise taught us some critical lessons learned about, choke points in the design and narrow roadways. And so if we can just put that into consideration, that'll just be my 2 cents. But thank you for answering the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your comments. We'll definitely circle back with our fire department.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the members of the CPAC? If not, I will move to public comments. Okay, hearing none. Madam Clerk, do we receive any comments or any public documents on this project?
Actually, you do. You have 2 callers. And if you
Okay, can we please put them in the line? And for the callers, could you please introduce yourself?
Oh, hold on just a minute, Mr. Borja. We got to get him in.
Sorry about that.
Here we go.
Hello, you're commenting on item. Hello?
We're waiting, hold on, we're waiting just for the second caller to come in too. Just a moment.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Caller, you have 3 minutes. Please start your comment. Please.
Hi, this is Bruce calling in.
Oh, hi, Bruce.
I wasn't sure what number to use. Apologize for that, but I guess if I can just add a little, well, and maybe Emma covered it, but I was calling in, but certainly understand that access is an important issue here. The plan ultimately, of course, is for a loop connection down to Carlisle and out to Elk Grove Florin Road. The fact that Castleman, let me turn myself off. The fact that Castleman Road serves as basically a collector road, the lack of any on-street frontage or on-street parking for the Castleman Road, Castleman Ranch section, and the fact that through, albeit an indirect pattern, There is a second point of access through the Castleman Ranch project out to Elk Grove Florin Road. So the actual single point of access that we're requesting is actually relatively short and will ultimately be accomplished with future development looping back through to Carlisle Avenue. So if Emma didn't cover that, I just wanted to make sure that was added. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Can we please hear from the second public comment?
Yes. Hello, caller. You're on. You have 3 minutes. Please begin your comments now.
Thank you. Northwest Tentative Subdivision Map and its impacts on our community. So I've lived at December of 2018 and we're the original owners of our home. I'm in reviewing the maps for this project and the documents as well as the general plan. I see inconsistencies. So major concerns of myself and several members of our community are a lack of open space, parks, and public facilities in this subdivision, as well as the Castleman South subdivision, which was kind of approved before most of us moved in. So just lack of open space, parks, and public facilities. Additionally, the lack of trails and community continuity, especially the lack of or creation of safe routes to schools for children and families in our community and surrounding communities. So in reviewing it, I'm not an expert, but the plan seems to disregard several sections of the general plan, including FV 27, 32, 41, and 43, with regards to open space, trails, and parks. I am aware that the Southgate Rec and Parks District did decline the need for a park in this area subdivision. So FV 27 and FV 32 pathways and bike trails connecting communities should be considered and emphasized, but are not in these plans. The lack of trails through and between subdivisions and trail continuity is non-existent and leaves the communities around us feeling disjointed and poorly planned. General lack of pathways to schools like Mary Sacramento Elementary School. A great example is the Tamarindo subdivision being completely walled off from the Castleman Ranch subdivision, forcing students to walk along the busy and unsafe Elk Grove Florin Road. Section 43, subsection A, talks about the requirements for a park, which I know that they already disregarded. But in SB 43, subsection E, the inclusion of stormwater detention basins should also include a walking trail or park. I understand there's potential for this walking trail upon that necessary inclusion of a walking trail. We also need continuity between neighborhoods. So adding a connection to the trail through or along the Castleman South project that was approved would allow for a potential pathway to Mary Sacramento Elementary School and would encourage walking to school. Lack of continuity between parks is really unacceptable, and it just kind of devalues our neighborhood. We need safe routes around the school. Lastly, and in our community, the pandemic has shown us the need for outdoor spaces and places to walk. This prevents us all from going stir crazy. And in and out of the pandemic, trails and open outdoor spaces promote healthy lifestyles for our community, which is what we want and need for our community. For the safety, quality, and health of our communities, I hope your decisions and recommendations reflect creating a safe, walkable, bikeable neighborhoods in this Sacramento County area. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments, ma'am. Are there any other public comments that we have, Madam Clerk?
No, that concludes your comments.
Thank you so much for all of the public comments. Before we move to discussion, are there any other comments that the planner or the applicant would like to address? I believe that the last public commenter did put very reasonable questions on the table. So we have an opportunity from the county staff or the applicant to at least answer her concerns about continuity and safe routes to school.
Sure. This is Emma Patton. So with new projects that are being proposed, there are requirements for park sites and a certain allocation of park sites that is based on how many expected residents are going to be on a particular subdivision. With this particular site, there was a either a 1 acre park dedication would be required, or alternatively, the payment of fees would be accepted to Southgate. So in corresponding with Southgate Park or Rec and Park District, the proposed park with the 1 acre park site would be too small to provide the amenities that they would like to see in the park. And so they typically, it's sort of their practice to accept a 3 acre park minimum with a walking distance of about 10 minutes from other parks. So with that and the existence of the Yee Park in the Castleman Ranch project site, they ultimately decided that they did not want a park site on this particular site, and that instead would accept fees in lieu. They did identify as I believe the caller on the phone was implying that there may be some opportunities to the south in terms of opportunities for future parkland that may be able to better connect to other amenities once that is developed. And so I think that is what it sounds like in my correspondence with Southgate that is what they plan to do in the future.
Okay, thank you. The caller also mentioned about safe streets and safe routes to school. Is that something that the plan amendments also consider? Because Mary Tsukamoto, I'm looking at the map right now, would probably be easily reached through Sunnyside Way from Carlisle, but since we don't have a secondary arterial going to Carlisle yet, that would really force students who might want to walk or bike to school through a busier corridor at Elk Grove Flooring. Is that something that perhaps we can put on the record for consideration?
Yeah, I mean, certainly in my report, when I draft my staff report, I can certainly reference the proposed trail that's going to be along the detention basin, and there is potential that that basin would be expanded, and ultimately if future development was to occur to the south, it's likely that will be where a park site would likely be proposed. So we would expect that to continue southerly, which would allow for that connection to Carlisle and then continue down south to the elementary school. Obviously, there's some stair stepping here of development, and projects come sort of on a sort of one at a time to us. But I can certainly, in my report to the Planning Commission, once we have a hearing date and everything like that, be able to include in that some sort of a summary as to how the proposed trail adjacent to the basin may be able to connect to future projects to the south.
Okay, thank you so much, and I do look forward to reading your report and hopefully commenting to the Planning Commission too, that we do have tentative members of the community that have made this request and do point out very critical pieces of legislation that we're supposed to be following through, and that the caller did have a right point on the safety of our children and safe routes access to elementary schools. So with that, are there any other questions from the CPAC members? If there are not, I would kindly request for a motion.
No, I have a question. This is Lee Miller. So
Yes, please, go ahead.
I'm also very concerned about pathways for the children to get to the elementary school. I lived in that area at one time, and it's very congested as it is. So I would like to know from the planning department when the future other portions of this project are going to be built out.
So we don't have any sort of anticipated timeline or dates as to when development project applications may be submitted to our department. So I don't have much of an indication of that. Bruce, you are a bit more connected to the development side of things and timing of development in this area. Do you have an idea as to when maybe some potential future projects may be coming to the south?
Bruce Walters, I'm not applications.
Can't hear you.
The large parcels.
So since Bruce is not on the line and I can't hear what he's saying, I would like to suggest that we postpone the vote on this until we get an answer as to what mitigation plan will be put in place to keep the kids safe until these other projects are built out. Also, I don't think the basin issue was necessarily well thought out either or explained. So I really don't think this is ready for prime time. Thank you.
This is Sophia Trotter-Getzy. I had Emma, could you clarify? You made some comments as to why a park was not going to be put into this area. I don't recall the details though.
Yeah, let me go back and explain that. So with the original plans for this project, there was a proposed 1 acre park site to be consistent with the park dedication requirements for this particular site. However, when Southgate Rec and Park District reviewed this project, they decided that they did not want that park site because it was too small and wouldn't be able to support a number of the amenities that they typically like to include in their park sites. And so they decided instead that they would like to see the payment of fees in lieu of park site dedication, with those fees going to future park sites. And so that was sort of the determination for their decision making.
Excuse me, but this is Bill Thompson. I was wondering if they're saying the park site is too small.
Yes, that is correct. They're saying that a 1 acre park site, the requirement for land dedication for a park site for this particular subdivision would be about 1 acre, actually a little bit less than 1 acre. And because of the small size and the parks, they typically ask for a minimum of a 3 acre site. And so because this particular project wasn't going to be triggering that amount of land dedication, they're asking instead for the payment of fees in lieu.
And I have one other question. How big is this retaining basin supposed to be? How much ground is it supposed to cover?
So there's a detention basin that's proposed to be 4.9 acres approximately. And there is opportunities to expand that basin to the south, depending on future drainage needs. adjacent to that basin, there'll be a 25-foot landscaped area, which will include a walking path.
I'm just curious, why do they need such a big basin for that area?
So I am certainly not a drainage expert, but our Department of Water Resources is reviewing these materials, and they determine the size and requirements for the basins in this area based on some regional planning efforts and what have you. Bruce, do you have any comments on the sizing of this particular detention basin?
Size per the drainage master plan.
Yeah, so what Bruce is sort of suggesting is there's an existing approved drainage master plan, and that basin is a part of this sort of regional infrastructure, and so it may not necessarily be only for this particular map, but it also may be serving other areas, other communities. So it's sort of this regional effort, and that's where that detention basin to the south, should additional development occur, it allows an opportunity for expansion of that particular basin.
Well, this here creek heads up right up here at the end of Waterman. So a 4-acre basin, I don't know who the engineer is, but seems a little ridiculous to me, because that creek there that's running into there is plenty big enough to handle any water that's going to run off. Now, I don't know. From what I've seen of these engineers down there, I think they're blowing smoke in somebody's ear. It's my opinion, because, I've lived out here before they ever started building any of this, and we've never had enough water to fill that creek.
Yeah, so the drainage requirements within the drainage master plan would be for various flood events, and so this wouldn't necessarily be for the day-to-day potential flows. It would be for the sort of larger flood events, and anticipating those sort of 200-year flood events, for instance.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that this all be put on hold until we can get a lot of answers here. There's a lot of things with this project, I think, that are overblown.
I second that motion.
So this is Chris Bahuli. Before again, principal planner with Planning and Environmental Review. Before you all take action on the motion that's in front of you, just wanted to remind you that we do have more recent legislation that has been signed into law that we are working to comply with in terms of the number of public meetings that housing developments can be subject to. And so I know that it sounds like the interest of the CPAC is to continue this item in an effort to get further information about developments that are outside of the application, as well as some clarification points on the application itself. And that's fine. You can take that action. We will be working with county council and looking at the applicability of that state legislation or state law now to determine whether or not this item would be eligible to be brought back to the CPAC, or whether or not it would have to just move on to further or to the other hearing bodies, given that there is a limitation on the number of public meetings that can be where items could be heard. So I think, again, options available to you are you could continue it. Again, we may not be in a position to bring it back, and we'll inform you if that is the case. Otherwise, you also have the option of taking action either up or down on the project as it's proposed. So just wanted to let you know that before you take action on this motion that's in front of you.
This is Sophia Trotter-Getzy, and I'm a member. And I was going to suggest, I know two other members mentioned continuing it, but what we normally do is we just deny, we send it forward with our denial if we don't like the plan the way it is. And just along those same lines, I don't know if the resident is still listening or not who spoke. But one thing I would like to suggest that resident does, as well as the other members of her community who she said were in agreement with her, is to actually put her comments in writing and have them attached to this proposal, so that if it goes forward, even with our deny, it will go forward whether we approve or deny, but at least it would go forward with the comments that we heard tonight in writing. And that's just to go along with what Chris just mentioned. But I do actually have a question. Is there a park in Castleman Ranch?
Yes, there is a park in Castleman Ranch.
Okay, so if a park was put into Castleman Northwest, that would be in addition.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions for the members of the CPAC? I'd just like to make one comment. Thank you, Principal Planner. Is it Pahui, Chris? Is that correct? I appreciate you reminding us of
That's right.
The SB 330 requirements. Just for the edification of the rest of the members, the law specifically says that by 2025, that the city or county cannot hold more than 5 hearings as defined pursuant to certain provisions. And so what I'd like to kind of share, just to be fair, is that it's not just a one shot, there would be 5 hearings. And if I remember correctly, this would be the first hearing, the Planning Commission would be the second, and then if it goes to the Board of Supervisors, the third. So I just want to be fair that, wanted to let the folks know that if the county staff are throwing legislation, that I just want to be able to tell you guys, it's a very long, extensive bill of trying to streamline the public process, but I do believe that we have an ample opportunity to, at the very least, provide feedback. We're not trying to be NIMBYs in here, but I believe that there are significant concerns, or at the very least, an opportunity for the public to weigh in, and also for the Planning Commission to hopefully consider upon looking at the staff review. So with that said,
this is,
Madam,
I'm sorry to interject one more time. This is Chris Bahuli once again.
Yeah.
In addition to the hearings that you mentioned, there are also other public meetings that are considered hearings or meetings under SB 330 and is confirmed by our county council. And these projects also are heard by the Design Review Advisory Committee and also the Project Review Committee. So there's other meetings that occur for these projects which are also subject to that 5 meeting limitation. So just wanted the group to be aware of that.
Thank you so much. For my edification, Chris, are your project review committees open to the Brown Act? Is that publicly accessible?
They are. They're publicly noticed meetings. We typically do not get members of the public, but they are noticed, and members can participate if they choose to, and it's happened before.
Okay, understood. So that's something new that I learned today. PRCs are welcome for the public, so any folks or any members of the CPAC, you're welcome to also join. I'm trying to demystify the kind of the sausage making process, and I really appreciate all of the hard work by the county staff on this issue. But
Chairperson
also,
Portia, this is Alma Munoz from the Clerk of the Board's office.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to let you know that the other hearing bodies, Project Review Committee is not open to the public. However, subdivision review, zoning administrator, planning commission, and the CPAC, all of those are open to the public.
Okay, understood.
Project Review Committee is the only one that is not.
Got it. So SB 330 requires that it has to be a public hearing, which specifies procedures. So that's just something that I'd like to point out to the CPAC. Okay. Did we have a motion? I just want to go back to the Robert's Rules of Orders. Madam Clerk, did I hear a motion?
You did. You had a motion to continue and a second.
Okay. And we had a second to continue. Okay. Any other further discussion before we move to the vote? Sorry.
Did you still want to move forward with that motion? Or do you want to withdraw it?
That would be to the two that put it forward.
Right.
So Miller and Thompson.
I'd like to vote on it as is.
Okay.
Bill?
I would vote on it as is also. This is Trotter.
Okay. Okay.
Excuse me, but how are we vote? What are we voting on?
Okay, so if we're going to vote on it, this is Sophia Trotter-Getty again. The motion that I would put forward is a motion to deny the application.
Oh, okay. I was speaking on the motion that they made to continue the item.
Got it. Okay, then I'll just go back and see if Miller and Thompson still want to go with that.
I would, as long as it comes back, I'd like some answers on these holding ponds and some of these other things I've asked about, because some of the answers I'm getting do not make sense to me.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, do we have in our ability to perhaps request, if it's appropriate, for the planning staff to, in their analysis of the project, maybe bring up the concerns that were heard by the CPAC, and if there's an opportunity for them to answer. I know we might not have all the answers at this very moment, but perhaps that analysis going to the Planning Commission might be able to mitigate some of the concerns.
Planning, fine. That would be up to the planning staff.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is Chris Bahuli. I think that is absolutely appropriate, and we will definitely include the kind of nature of the discussion and the concerns and issues that were brought up in the analysis that would be considered by the Planning Commission and then on to the Board of Supervisors.
Understood. Thank you so much, Mr. Bahuli. Okay. Are there any other comments before we move on to the motion?
I would just like to clarify, now all of our comments move forward, okay? Whether we approve it or don't approve it, our suggestions, our comments, they move along with this application. They become part of this application. Is that correct?
Yes, we'll document your comments in the staff report that we
Right, and then those will go forward to the next body and so forth and so on.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and then also, if I can just clarify, and you can correct me if it's not the case, but we should be making a decision for or against this application as it has been presented to us tonight, not based on what might be changed later.
Yes, yes, that is correct. And I think if you have comments related to the project design or what is being proposed on the project, you can certainly provide your comments. But you are voting based on what you hear today.
Correct. So if we say that we approve it, then we approve it as it is, and our comments will go with it, but we are approving it. And I'm just saying this to kind of reiterate that for the members. I'm not sure. I think we've got a couple of new members with us now on the CPAC, but we are voting on what's before us tonight.
Okay. Thank you so much. Are there any other comments before we entertain that motion that was already presented earlier?
Yes. So if we vote, okay, so if the motion is to continue it, and we say no to continuing it, that's not specifically saying what we want to do about the application. Is that correct? So in other words, I'm thinking I wouldn't know how to vote. I don't want to continue it. I want to vote with what's in front of me right now.
And this is Alma Munoz from the clerk of the board's office. You would say no. Your vote would be no to continue because you don't want to continue.
Okay, because I just want to. Okay, but then I'm okay. And then after that, do we say whether or not would approve it or disapprove it? So that's what I'm saying.
If somebody wanted to make that motion to approve or deny, then you would vote on that motion.
Okay, so we can make a motion after this one.
If this one fails, then yes, or fails, or yes, if this one fails, then yes, you can make another motion. But you have to have a second you have to have a second for that motion to even be considered.
Got it. Okay.
I'd still like to vote to deny this application as approved.
But that's not what you said, Bill. Your first one was not to deny, to postpone. So which do you want? I
want my questions answered, ma'am. I want the questions that I have on these retaining basins and some of these parking stuff on these streets and stuff, because the way they're answering them by saying, well, the fire department has reviewed them is not good enough for me, because I've seen parking out on these rural roads that where a fire truck, you can barely get through with a small car. Let's put it that way.
So do you see what I'm saying, Bill? Then what you want is to deny it.
Okay, so the motion on the table right now is to continue the item. The item was moved by Member Miller and seconded by Member Thompson.
Yes,
no, it's the other way around. But Bill, why don't you take it off the table, and why don't we just vote this down?
So then if you want to, you have to withdraw that motion.
Okay, we're going to deny it then.
No, the motion to continue, that's.
You need to withdraw that first.
Yeah, but what I want to know first is this will be brought back before us, if it's possible.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, Mr. Thompson, per my understanding and explanation of the staff, they would have to check in with the council to see what requirements they have with the new legislation and new statutory requirements that the county must comply. So whether that responsibility ultimately falls within the Planning Commission or the Board of Supervisors, there may be the final decision making, but they are required by law to move the project, to move the consideration forward. Now, I'm not saying that without hearing our concerns, we can still vote we can vote whatever we would like tonight, whatever motion we would like. However,
that's my main thing. I want to see it denied.
Okay, Mr. Thompson, if you want to make that motion, you need to withdraw the motion you made to continue the item.
Okay, then I'll withdraw it and we'll deny it's presented.
Okay, so
my questions have not been answered.
So now that Mr. Thompson has denied, withdrawn. Now that he's withdrawn.
Okay.
I'll second it.
This is Sophia Trotter-Getzy, and I would like to put forward a motion to deny the proposal.
I'll second that one.
Okay. Madam Clerk, can we just, for the record, have I got a little confused now because there's multiple motions going. Is the original motion to move the project forward, is that still alive?
You mean continue it? There was no.
Yeah.
No, they made a motion to continue. So Mr. Thompson withdrew his motion.
Thank you.
My promotion is to.
And then the motion on the table is to deny the project.
Yes, ma'am. Because they say that they're telling you guys are telling me we can't bring it back before us, so let's just deny it with all this stuff that hasn't been answered.
Is there a second on this Now, new motion
I
for the
already
record.
seconded it. This is Lee Miller.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can we please call the roll?
Absolutely.
And to just
sorry.
verify
Can I
again
interrupt
what
for
we're
half a
voting
minute?
for.
Can I?
Yes,
May
please.
I please? This is Mary. Okay, please. Could you restate
Yes, please.
what the new motion is so I understand what they're
Yes.
asking for? Please.
Yes, please.
The last motion, the last motion that was on the table is to deny the project. It was first.
Okay.
Yes.
Does that allow the applicant to revisit this, or where does it go after that?
All of our proposals still go forward. They just go forward with CPAC.
Okay. Now I'm back with you. Okay.
Okay,
I've
and I'd
been
like,
listening. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
I'd like to add to that if you are going to deny the project, that you pre-authorize an appeal if you'd like, if the CPAC would like.
So Alma, this is Chris Bahuli again. This item's already going to be heard by the Board of Supervisors.
Okay.
Okay. No, I just got confused. I was listening and I got confused in the process. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, I'm thoroughly confused.
No, it's a denial. That's what's on the table.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Borja, I'm going to go ahead and call the roll. Is that okay?
Yes, and before calling the roll, can you just, again, please reiterate the motion that's on the table and what we were voting for? Thank you so much.
What's on the table now is to deny the project.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Okay, members Borja?
I would say no to the current motion.
Costa? Duncan?
I agree. No.
No. Johnson?
No.
Miller?
Yes.
Thompson?
Now, I'm voting to deny this, right?
If you vote yes, it's a denial.
Yes.
And Trotter Getsy?
Yes.
The motion, the denial carries with members Borja and Duncan voting no.
Okay, thank you very much. Are we ready to move on to the third item, or
yes,
do we need any further explanation from the staff on what the next step of the process is for this item, or are we okay? I just want to make sure. Okay, I think we're ready for item number 3, Madam Clerk.
Okay, your item number 3 is your Vineyard Community Planning Advisory Council recommended nomination of the agricultural residential representative to the Sacramento Central Groundwater Authority, and this was continued from your July 9th meeting. And I do have a memo that was received today from Supervisor Natoli's Chief of Staff, Rebecca Sloan. Would you like for me to read it?
Yes, please.
As she said, this was addressed to Mr. Costa. She said, thank you for reaching out to our office regarding the Vineyard's consideration of the Sacramento County Groundwater Authority nomination at your upcoming meeting. Supervisor Natoli appreciates the assistance of the Vineyard CPAC in ensuring the representative is indeed an agricultural/residential groundwater user. Of course, you may consider extending the item if helpful to ensuring sufficient outreach to the Vineyard area and opportunity for applicants to submit interest. We confirm with the SCGA staff that this appointment does not require a formal application. That said, a letter of interest and resume for consideration would be helpful. If anyone is interested in more information about the appointment or the work of the SCGA, please encourage them to contact SCGA CEO John Woodling at GEI Consultants, or SCGA Assistant Engineer Ramon Roboyle at royalballr@saccounty.net. It says, please do not hesitate to give our office a call if you'd like to discuss further. All the best, Rebecca Sloan.
Well, excuse me, but this is Bill Thompson. I never received the names for the people we're supposed to be voting for.
There aren't any right now, Mr. Thompson. That's what she was saying.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Don't worry about it.
So then what are we voting on?
I think we just have to continue it again since you have no applicants at this time.
Okay. Well, I don't blame the people for that.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk. It doesn't seem that we have any nominations or names to consider at this time. Are we ready to move on to items that are not in the agenda?
Yeah, but I need a motion. I need a motion. I need a first and a second to continue it, please.
Well, I'll make a motion to continue it.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry. I missed that. Who was the first?
I'll make a motion. This is Bill Thompson.
Let Bill have it. It's okay.
Continue it.
Thank you.
Bill have it.
And who's the second?
I would second it. That's Mary Duncan.
Mary Duncan. Thank you so much. I'm going to take a quick roll call vote, Mr. Borja, right quick. Borja?
Thank you, please. Yes.
Costa? Duncan?
Yes.
Johnson? Absent. Miller?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
And Trotter Getsy?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that motion passes to continue it to your next meeting. Okay.
Could I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Did we get somebody from the county roads and stuff to hear about this turnstile here on Bradshaw to make a U-turn off of Rogers back going north?
It's not on the agenda tonight, Mr. Thompson, no.
Well, I asked for somebody last month, and they told me they would have somebody here this meeting. Because we've got a turnstile out here that is a death trap waiting to happen. You can't even see 10 feet down the road.
Right. I will notate it again on the action summary.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I've called Don Natoli's office, and I seem to be butting my head against a stone wall on this. Because, I mean, I've only got one eye, and I pulled up there and I tried to see down there, and with all that brush and everything they got in the middle of the road, you cannot see nothing. I mean, you can't see 10 feet when you pull up there.
I've almost been hit twice.
Have you tried to make U-turns out of there?
No, this is by oncoming traffic. They aren't paying attention.
Okay. I've notated it under your members' comments, and I'll make sure it gets forwarded.
Thank you so much, and we will make sure to, Bill, I'll go ahead and also email Supervisor Natoli about that question, just to make sure that we can at least address that.
Well, I've called his office twice, and I don't seem to be getting any place, so I don't know. And usually Don's really good about returning my phone calls, but for some reason or another, it's being ignored.
Well, I'm not one to speak for Mr. Natoli's office, but we will try again. The county is just overwhelmed a lot with the CARES, with everything that's happening with COVID and CARES right now. So
this ain't Natoli's area, sir. This is Patrick Kennedy's area, and emailing him, you might as well throw a bucket of water up and let it flap in the face.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you for your comment, Mr. Bill, but we're going to try to keep this about the subject. So I believe that we have had confirmation from Madam Clerk that she will try to follow through, and I will also do my best to reach out. Can you remind me what was the intersection of the U-turn again that you were?
It's for the U-turn at Rogers Road.
But where does it go?
U-turn at Rogers Road.
Yeah, you pull out onto Rogers Road, you go over to the left-hand turn lane to head north.
Is that on Bradshaw?
On Bradshaw, and you pull into this thing to make a U-turn to head north. And you cannot see nothing.
So it'd be Rogers Road and Bradshaw.
Yes,
Rogers
ma'am.
Road and Bradshaw. Okay. Understood. I'm emailing them right now, and we hope that we can get somebody from the county to, at the very least, explain to us what's going on there. But thank you so much, Bill. We will pursue this, and thank you for bringing that up.
I went out there one day with my little car to turn around, and I just literally terrified that I couldn't see. And the traffic moves on Bradshaw. 65 miles an hour, nuts for the speed on Bradshaw.
Some folks are driving much faster than that, Bill. You know that.
Well,
and I live by Bradshaw and Gerber.
I'm just trying to be nice.
Yeah, they go a little bit faster nowadays because people are sheltering in place, so they want to drive fast. So we certainly do want to prevent any accidents if we can do it. So I will ask the staff again to bring this up on our next meeting. So thank you, Madam Clerk.
Okay.
Are there any other items outside the agenda or any other comments before we conclude? Or
You have,
I don't believe there's any.
Yes, you have annual election of officers. Do you want to continue that and where you can get Mr. Costa on board as well?
Yes, please. If the rest of the members don't mind, can we postpone that until the next meeting?
I'll make a motion to continue it until next meeting.
Okay. May I have a second?
I'm still here.
Second.
Thank you.
Miller?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. And then all you have left is staff update if they have any.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you. Are there any other staff updates?
Yeah, just very quickly, this is Chris Bahuli again. I think as many of you know, you received an email that said that the CPAC ordinance, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, was going to be heard by the Board of Supervisors on August 11th, earlier this week. That item was actually not heard by the board on Tuesday, and the board ended up continuing the item to August 18th, which is next Tuesday. So they do intend to take up that item on August 18th. The report package as well as the materials are not intended or will not be changed. And the materials should be up and loaded, I believe, tomorrow. Perhaps Alma can correct me on that. And so you will likely get an email tomorrow reminding you of that again, August 18th, it will be heard, but just wanted to make sure that you were all informed of that. So that's the only update that I have.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pahuli. I really appreciate that. Any other questions from the CPAC members or any other staff comments?
Mr. Borja, I'm sorry. I needed to take a vote for that movement, continuing the meeting of the election of officers, please, right quick. Can I just do that right quick?
Oh, yes, please. Go ahead.
I apologize. So, Mr. Borja?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Costa? Duncan?
Yes, please.
Johnson? Absent. Miller?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
And Trotter Getsy, please.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I apologize for that.
No problem, Madam Clerk. You've been very helpful, so thank you so much for keeping us in line. Are there any other last items before we conclude? Comments, questions, concerns, or announcements?
I have a question.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
How much longer are these meetings going to be continued online, over the phone or in front of your computers? Because I'm sitting here on the telephone and I know about as much what's going on in this meeting. You people are seeing everything and I'm seeing nothing. So therefore, I'm kind of in the dark on some of this stuff.
Mr. Thompson, we send you a packet, correct?
Yes, ma'am. But you forget that I don't read nor write. And my wife, we go over this packet and stuff. but when it comes up before, my memory is not what it used to be 20 years ago.
Right. So, unfortunately, we don't know how long that this situation is going to go on. I would imagine, from hearing from the public health officers, that it would be at least until 2021.
Okay. Well, I think what's going to happen, this will probably be the last meeting you people will see me at, because I think I'm going to back one out of here until we can have public meetings.
That's unfortunate, and I'm sorry to hear that, but I hope that you decide to still continue.
Well, with the way things are going, ma'am, it's frustrating me. I'm sorry, but it's not your fault. It's not nobody's fault on the board. I appreciate all you guys putting up with me not being able to read or write, but just with the way things are going, I think I'd be better off if I just resigned.
Bill, take your time and think about it.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Please take your time to think about
It's
that.
been a long evening already, and there's been a lot of words talked, okay? Don't be too fast on that one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I've been thinking about it for quite a while, and it just, I know you people, I keep hearing you guys talk about the screens and stuff, and my wife's got iPads, but for some reason or another, there's a lot of places we don't get with her iPad that you people get with your computers. So,
be patient, Bill. This isn't forever. This is a little bit.
Okay. Well, I thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up, Bill. I do have one quick question to the county. I do want to make sure that with the new county health orders that we're doing our best to meet any ADA accessibility to ensure that we're still following through the Brown Act. Is there anything else reasonable accommodation outside of sending a paper packet that we can assist just to ensure that all of our members have access to the material? If we've exhausted all of our options, then that's totally fine. But I just want to make sure that, in the spirit of meeting kind of public comments, things like that.
I will talk to our clerk as well as our Department of Technology and see if there's any other options available that might help.
I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
This is Alma Munoz from the Clerk of the Board's office. Sorry, by the way.
Thank you, Ms. Munoz. I appreciate it. Are there any other questions, concerns, or announcements that staff or members or Madam Clerk before we close out?
None for me.
Okay. Hearing none, do we need to have a motion to end the meeting, or?
No.
No,
Or can we
Mr.
just end the
Chairperson,
meeting?
you can just adjourn the meeting.
Okay. All right. It's
You've done a
8:18
great job
p.m.
tonight. Thank you.
Yes, thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you so
Borja.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
We will give this back to.
Very nice.
Thank you,
Very
sir.
nice.
We will give this back to Mr. Costa next month.
Thank you for letting us volunteer you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's more than I asked for, but you all please take care, stay safe, hug your loved ones good night. So thank you so much. Have a good night.
Well,
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.